Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, greetings to all of you. Um, Today, I just felt I want us to talk about this aspect, which I think is actually quite critical, um, that I've actually seen, happening, recently, or affecting a lot of people in these days. So, what I thought we would actually focus on, I call this thing MLM leg migration. And I know that in recent months and even in the future, I know that this is actually going to be impacting on a number of people. There are two aspects to this point that I actually want to focus on. One is the migration in relation to your downline, whereby your downline or one of your downlines decide to resign, and go to a new company that has actually just, come up. And you find that half of your team goes with him or her. The other aspect of this, it would actually be whereby your upline decides to quit and then you feel rattled and you're not sure what to do. Firstly, let me just assure you on one thing. If you study the history of MLM or network marketing, you'd actually know that this is not a new thing. It's not unique to you, and it will never be unique because most of the big guys in network marketing has actually gone through this before. They've experienced this once or even a number of times, and you'd find that that experience is based on both the scenarios or aspects that I've actually highlighted earlier. So the key thing that I want you to note is just don't let it get to you. Yes, it is bound to happen, but don't let it get to you. What you need to do is to develop what I call an attitude develop a Tiger Woods attitude. If you remember very well, there was a time in Tiger Woods' life when he went down and he struggled a long time to regain his populance and all that. But the key thing that I like with him is that he always believed in himself. He always told himself that, you know what, it doesn't matter whether I'm struggling today, but my eyes are on that victory. I know that as I persist, as I continue to do what I need to do, as I continue to go to the course and practice, go to the driving range, practice my drives and practice my putting, practice every aspect of my golf, I will get back to my thing. I will get my swing back, I will get my putt back, I will get my drive back, every aspect of my game, I will be able to regain it. So he never allowed the thing to get to his head. He told himself that I'm going to make it. And very soon, what we saw is that even though he might have failed a number of times, but he got back up again. So today, he found himself being a Masters champion again because of the persistence that he had. So the key thing is that I want you to know is that this aspect of leg migration is bound to happen. It is something that happened, even people like Eric Worre, they experienced such. Great leaders in network marketing, they've gone through this before. But they never gave up because of the key things that I'll be sharing with you today. They told themselves one thing. I think one of the key things that I've learned personally from Eric Worre is that a lesson that he has said where he was saying, he realized that as much as he was connected to a certain angle or maybe to a certain level to his upline and his downline, but his life was not dependent on them. As a result, whether they were there or not, he told himself that as long as I'm connected to the company, I will continue to do the business. Because, the minute you put your attachment to your upline, and it's like your reliance is on your upline or even your downline, you end up getting to the dangerous situation of actually maybe a trap even of maybe feeling that without my downline I cannot make it, without my downline's performance in this particular area. If my downline is not doing 1, 2, 3, or if my downline is not there, it means I'm not going to be able to make it in this business. And that is actually very dangerous because it means your dependency is on one individual. And you need to actually make sure that you quickly detach yourself from your leaders or from the leaders in your team, whether it is up or down. Remember one key thing. When you came to this business, you did not join an individual, you joined a company. myself, when I came to this, my upline is my sister. I did not join my sister. She might be my upline, but I did not join her. That is why even when she chooses not to work in this business, I continue to work. My performance is not informed by her attitude or her decision to work or not to work, because I believed in the company, even though she would choose not to continue to believe in it for whatever reason. I'm just using that as an example, basically to say, make it a point that you understand that you are not joining an individual, you are joining a business or the company. I like one of the interviews that I did recently with one of our key leaders, Mr. Madiba TMT. I asked him a question, and his answer was actually very, very simple and blunt. And one could have actually thought it was an arrogant answer. He answered me by saying, when you joined, did you know Percy? When you filled the forms, did you know Percy? The bottom line is, I didn't. And even if I did, it doesn't matter, because I was not joining Percy or I was not joining that particular individual. I was joining the business. So my performance in the business should not be dependent on the performance or on the availability of my upline or even my downline. I need to make it a point to tell myself that, look, I'm going to be strategic in building my business because I'm building my own business. What's happening up there, it doesn't matter. I'm concerned about what's happening down there on my downline. But even if there could be one of them that is unstable, or maybe that is not performing or maybe aligned to my vision per se, I am not going to allow it to disturb me. So the key thing that I've learned is that you must be quick to replace your leaders. I'm going to repeat this. The idea is to be quick to replace your leader so that you are not dependent on them. So that if, let's say, for instance, I'll make an example with our business. I might be a star director 2 today. And I'm saying to myself, look, here is this guy. He's been a D7 for a while. And I thought he was actually going to become a star director 1. And as a result, it would actually boost my upgrade, and then I would actually be able to move up, rank and advance to star director 2, star director 3, whatever level up there. But the key thing is, if that person decides to quit, my business should not be rattled or impacted by that decision. But if I'm not planning my things properly, it will be impacted. But the key thing that I'm learning today, and that I'm actually wanting to bring up to you as leaders in my team, is that let us learn to build depth in our teams. Let us make it a point that we build depth. By building depth, what I mean is we must make sure that as we understand it within Longreach is even very easy. Longreach says build 3 legs. So what you need to do is to make it a point that you build depth in all your 3 legs. You've got 3 legs, but don't depend on 3 people. Because the minute you depend on 3 individuals, 1 on each leg, as your strong leaders, it basically means you do not have a business that is stable or solid. Anything can happen at any time. So we need to be very smart with this. Make it a point that you build your business around a solid team of leaders, not individuals. I want you to understand that part. There's one aspect, or maybe one point, that I want to also bring up. There's a gentleman that inspires me a lot. His name is Grant Cardone. He's got a concept that is called 10x. By 10x, what he means is you need to 10 times yourself in every area of your life. Now, I'm going to take that 10x principle, or the 10 times principle, and apply it, in our Longreach business. So I've got 3 tips. I've got 3 legs. And this is what I'm busy working on right now. I'm actually practicing this thing that I'm telling you guys right now. In one of my legs, or each of my legs, I make it a point that I identify and build leaders in each of those particular legs. But the key strategy for me is to personally sponsor those individuals, so that I can actually maximize on the Longreach system, or compensation plan that we have. I'll explain to you, this to you as we progress. But the key thing that I'm trying to highlight is make it a point that you've got 10 key leaders that you can know that, you know what, my business is actually solid, because in each leg I've got 10 individuals that are grinding, that are actually pushing this particular business. That is why when you look at our vision as Team Greater Wealth, we are saying by 2022 we want to have raised 200 millionaires within Africa. That basically says in each and every leg that we have within Team Greater Wealth, I want to see star directors in each and every leg. Now, that is why my responsibility would be to 10 times myself. If I know that I've got 10 sphesos that I have actually created in leg 1, leg 2, and leg 3, it basically means I've got a team of 30 core individuals that I'm working with. If one of them decides to quit, it doesn't impact me in any way, because that leg is still strong. I just continue, I replace that individual with one that could actually be already developed by one of my key leaders out of the team. So it then becomes something that guarantees stability. When that happens, I then know that even if there could be migration in my team, I'm not going to be impacted by that. Whether there's a new MLM company that is being introduced in the country or what, if one of those individuals, one of those leaders decide to go, it's not going to affect me. Why? Because my business is not dependent on that particular individual. I've built depth at different generation levels within each of my 3 legs. That is very, very important thing for us to can actually know. So if you want to work with me in making sure that we build solidity within Team Greater Wealth, adopt this system and apply it even within your individual teams. And let's make sure that we duplicate this as much as possible. One of the key things, again, that I want to highlight is that even myself, I might be your upline today, but you should not depend on me. Because remember, I'm not Longridge. And I'm going back to the point that I highlighted a bit earlier. You did not join me per se. You associated with me in pursuing the Longridge business. Should, let's say, God forbid, I die tomorrow, it is not the death of Longridge. It is me that is no longer there in front of you. But Longridge still remains. You continue with the business as if I was there. I've learned this from one of the key leaders. Remember, as I've told you before, my life previously is from the company called Amway, and I was actually associated with a company or a group within Amway that is called Network 21. Network 21 was just a leg within Amway that was ran by a gentleman called Jim Donnan. Jim Donnan is late today, but Network 21 is still operating. That his leg within Amway, it is still operating even in his absence. His child or his children, together with Nancy, his wife, are still operating. And other leaders that they've developed, they are running with Network 21, and it is thriving every day. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to be in a position to say you do not depend on me as your upline, and you also are not solely dependent on specific individuals within your downline. Build a replacement for your individuals there. That's very, very important. Key thing number 2 or number 3 that I want to highlight is this one. Belief is important in this type of a business. You need to believe in yourself. Let your confidence not be in me as your upline. Let your confidence not be in that individual that is a high performer in your downline. No. Let your belief be in yourself. Because remember, if it was not for you coming on board, joining this business, that downline would not be where he is today. Note that part. So you therefore need to have belief in yourself, have confidence in yourself to say the impartation, the leadership that you are actually able to apply or release to that particular individual is the one that is also helping that individual to grow the way he is. So as much as you would believe in your downline and have confidence in them, but do not depend and rely on them. Believe in yourself and say to yourself, if I can lose that key downline, I can replace that individual again. I'm a strong leader. I can be able to build new people under me and be able to replace that person and make sure that whatever his departure or whatever it is does not impact my business in any way. The second aspect on belief is to believe in the company. I've got such a strong belief in Longreach because of the research that I've done on it. I've actually seen the performance of this particular company. This morning, I posted something on our leaders team to say many people are not aware of this, but for me, key three things that I just want to highlight. Number one is the longevity of this particular company and its performance. And I shared this to yourselves as well within TGW to say you need to note that Longreach has been in existence for over 3 decades. And in those 30 years, Longreach has seen phenomenal growth. Records state that it has been growing on an annual growth of 40% and above. That's big. It's bigger than many companies. The second thing that I want to highlight then is the credit ratings. It's about the credit and trustworthy ratings. By people like your Moody's and the S&Ps, like we know them here in South Africa. Longreach has been rated as a AAA company. I mean, there's only 10 countries globally that are AAA rated. The USA is one of them. What I'm trying to highlight is when you look at private companies, very few, even banks, very few that you'd actually find with a AAA rating. Some would actually be a B, AA, or BA plus, things like those. But a AAA rating, it's actually top. So that basically shows you that Longreach is a reputable company that is trusted by many. Even the credit ratings are actually, attesting to that. So that is why I'm saying you need to have belief in that as well. Okay. The third aspect was with regard to its purpose. One of the key things, I'm just going to summarize that, is that Longreach is actually concerned about making sure that they create a platform that would enable them to operate effectively and as such ensure commonwealth or common prosperity. For me, that is quite phenomenal. And that basically says to me, everything that the chairman Zuziwe does on a daily basis, he does it driven by the purpose of his company, which is ultimately underpinned by common prosperity to all. And that is why you'd actually find such a ridiculous, compensation plan that we are faced with. In other words, it's unbelievable. When other people look at our compensation plan, they get to realize that actually, you know what, this is big. This is bigger than what we have actually seen, before. But it is because of this ethos, the values that are driving him and his management to say, you know what, we want to use our vehicle as a platform. Our company as a platform, as a vehicle that will ensure that more people within China, within the world where we operate, are actually becoming prosperous because of our involvement or their involvement with us. That for me is very, very critical. Those 3 aspects. I'm basically saying that gives me even more courage to have solid belief on the company. That is why I'm saying whether Star Director Vivian decides to quit Longreach tomorrow, that for me doesn't matter. As long as Longreach still exists, I will continue to build. If she has become a millionaire because of this and she feels that she has done enough money and she quits, that's her own decision. She will do it. But for me, I will continue to build and build and build because I have seen through her that this thing is possible. That is why the slogan that I normally use with you to say, "Iyenzeka lento." Let's continue to push. Let's continue to be persistent. So among you, I want people that would actually be willing to work with me, people that would be saying, you know what, we as members within Team Greater Wealth or TGW, we are committed to this vision because we have seen the bigger picture. Longreach is bigger than Pastor Speso. Longreach is bigger than Star Director Vivian. Longreach is bigger than any other Star Director that might be known out there. And we are committed to this because we know that what Star Director Soli has become out of this, what Star Director Vivian has become out of this, we also can become if we perform and work, exactly as they have actually been working. So that for me is actually quite important. So for you as my key leaders, I want you to understand that and make it a point that we now continue to begin to build actually and build solidity, build depth, as I've indicated. This is 2020. Let us make it a point that we take this thing to another level. One key thing as I close, I just want to summarize this very quickly. Number one, detach yourself from me. Let your business not be built by dependency on me. Build this business based on the principles, based on the tools that Longreach has actually made available for you, and your knowledge and research that you'd actually be doing on Longreach and network marketing or MLM in general. Detach yourself from your high performance in your team, because if you are focusing only on them, when they depart, you will collapse. Make it a point that you duplicate yourself as much as possible. Build more high performance so that your business does not depend on one individual. The other aspect is make it a point that you develop belief, as I've just been saying right now. Believe in yourself, believe in the company. The other aspect that I also mentioned earlier was that you need to build depth in your team. But building depth in the team basically means you must be prepared to grind over time, because it is not going to be something that happens overnight. It is going to take you time to do that. The other last aspect that I wanted to say, linked to building depth, is the 10x. You need to 10 times yourself. In the 3 legs that you are building, make it a point that you 10 times yourself in those 3 legs. So what I would want to see is a situation whereby each one of you within Team Crypto Wealth, if I regard you as a leader, you need to be having 30 strikers at any given time, at minimum 10 in each leg. And in that way, I would know that you as an individual have got a solid business. Anything that could happen, if one of those people decide to quit, you know that you've got 9 that will sustain you for a while whilst you're building the 10th one. And that is the strategy that I would actually want you to focus on. Build solidity, build depth. Listen, I want to close this, but I want to say to you, if Vivian quits Longreach tomorrow, he's not taking this soap away. This soap will always be there. And if this has been able to make money for her, it will continue to make money for me as well. This toothpaste as it is, it will always be there. Longreach, Zuziwe, Chairman, and everyone within Longreach headquarters in China or even in Nigeria plant, they will continue to manufacture these products. None of the leaders, even myself, if I decide to quit tomorrow, I'm not going to take away the plant away. These products, they will always be there. They will always be produced. So you've got no reason to be rattled because I have quit the business. You've got no reason to be rattled because one of the key leaders, you have read about the key leaders on Facebook or wherever that is said to have quit the business. No, listen, this is not about those individuals. This is about Longreach. Longreach is bigger than Vivian. Longreach is bigger than Speso. Tell yourself that I'm not joining the individual, I'm joining the business, and I'm committed to build. Whether my leader is there or not, I'm committing to build. As long as Longreach still stands, I'm committed to Longreach. Thank you very much, leaders. Let's continue to work. This is 2020. Let's make sure that we can rise. Thank you.